Do you remember this video? Yeah, no one does. It was my most downvoted video yet. So what do? I make a video reviewing the artist because why not? Hey guys, it's Madeline. So I love indie music. So much so that most of the music I own physical copies of are bands that no one has heard of, and I take pride in that. I make a lot of videos about Velvet Starlings, but in my research for those videos, I kept hearing about his father's past in the performing arts. So in the summer of 2018, I decided to investigate. I hated it, if you wanted to know, but for some reason I just couldn't get it out of my head. After growing fond of about half of the album, I spent another 2 hours in a Google search at the beginning of 2019 finding every vocal performance credited to Roger Gisborne, and can now proudly say that I own all 4 of his albums. I was originally going to write a script for a 5J Barra review, but I stumbled across a very interesting article about Gisborne, and here's where we are now. So today, we're going to be exploring the history of his music career, and of Plastiscene most notably, and then discussing what I think about this particular artist. So if you like it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and maybe subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. If you have any feedback, suggestions, or hate about me or what I should talk about next, feel free to drop it in the comments below. And with that all said and done, let's get right into the video. Roger Gisborne was born into a relatively poor family in the city of Leicester, England. His mother was American, probably from California, when she immigrated to England in an attempt to meet the Beatles. Instead, she ended up meeting Roger's father and giving birth to 2 boys, Roger and Colin Gisborne, with Roger being born sometime in the 1970s in January. Their mother was a folk singer and played acoustic guitar, though it is unclear whether or not she was involved in the music industry. Even so, Roger Gisborne took and still takes most of his influences from the Beatles. Roger started writing songs around the age of 21 and started up his first rock band sometime late 1996 to early 1997 with his brother, which was then known as Plastiscene. In the band's words, Plastiscene was a 60s psychedelic Brit-pop band reminiscent of Smashing Pumpkins and Radiohead, quote, "too American to be British, and too British to be American." The first lineup we can cite was Roger Gisborne on lead vocals, Colin Gisborne on guitar, most likely the lead, Nate Saragoza on bass, Billy Slater on drums, Nathan Wilmarth on keyboard, and Charles Van Devender also on guitar, possibly rhythm. The group initially played with a heavy metal drummer that did not work well with them at all, and Wilmarth was a part of a Doors cover band before joining. The band started off playing in their garage until a few major figures in the music industry caught one of their shows. In February 1997, Plastiscene was signed to Mojo Records, and their self-titled debut EP was released later that year, sometime before August. The band's first album, Seeing Stars, was released sometime around 1998-1999. Colin Gisborne was replaced by Matt Fuller on guitar, though it is likely that Van Devender took over lead. According to Gisborne, he had about 2 days to write nearly every lyric, and is not particularly proud of it. One of the tracks, Lemon Yellow, was released with a music video and later featured in the motion picture Basketball in 1998. This song also happens to be the only existing track streaming on Spotify. Sometime in the early 2000s, Plastiscene changed their name to Skylab, and they also underwent some major lineup changes. Jeremy Kelly was then playing bass, and James Safechuck played rhythm guitar. Safechuck also happens to be the same guy featured in Leaving Neverland, one of Michael Jackson's accusers of sexual assault. Additionally, the band was now signed to a label called Color Sound Records. The former lead guitarist Van Devender has since uploaded live videos of the band at the Whiskey in California. Roger's son Christian has stated in interviews that he was touring with Skylab in the 2000s, but it is unclear the exact date they stopped playing. For whatever reason, Plastiscene never released another album after Skylab's Side Effects. Roger Gisborne later said in an interview in 2019 that the band was all about partying and not too serious about songwriting. When he first started, he refused to co-write with anyone, which is interesting considering the fact that there are others credited to writing words or music on Plastiscene EP. But taking into account his comments about 6 people writing one song, it is possible that the majority of the songs from that EP were mainly written by him. This may or may not have contributed to the split of the band. As for the other members of the band, Matt Fuller went on to be the guitarist of Puddles of Mud, along with other groups, and Will Marth has been spotted as a producer for a label. He is now married with children of his own. There are so many articles I could find about Plastiscene that I wanted so badly to read, but any archives have since been deleted, and I mean, just look at this one. It's a Play-Doh. What the heck? What is Play-Doh? Why is Play-Doh? What was that all? I mean, come on. What was that? I want to read it. I must milk every bit of information I can out of its span out of the internet, but there aren't enough resources. That wasn't the last we've seen of Gisborne, however. Interestingly, his current wife, Anita Rivas, Interestingly, his current wife, Anita Rivas, was cited in the credits of Seeing Stars, and it was later revealed that he met her when she was working as his entertainment lawyer. The two of them were married, had a son, and went on to form multiple different groups such as the Intravenous music label, Sound X3, Rock and Roller Records, Rocket Gaming, and a bunch of other obscure ones that I'm not even sure if they were active anymore. Roger Gisborne helped produce the local division's sole EP, Pure Electric Light, under the Intravenous record label. It is a mystery who was the lead vocalist on the record, as there is no singer credited officially, but it sounds an awful lot like Gisborne, and I am therefore just going to assume that I am correct about that fact. It's a good album either way. Furthermore, a solo album was released by Gisborne around 2010 and 2012, titled Before the Music Fades. Apparently the hard drive, was that a typo? Was lost during mixing stages, and the album was never released. I assume by this he meant it was never released physically, as the 10-track album is still available for streaming on Spotify and other sites. The tracks were supposedly written about his wife Anita, and the opening track, Electricity, was a Valentine's Day present for her because he, quote, forgot to send a card. Seeing Stars was released as an enhanced CD, said to include videos and computer wallpapers. However, at this point in time, the software to run said program is severely outdated, and most of the features cannot be accessed anymore. However, the images still exist on file, and you can still view the bio of the band, as well as the instructions on how to download the software to view the disc content. Additionally, Roger has been known to change the titles of his songs quite a bit. Some obvious examples would be on his solo record, where Walking was once titled Walking a Tightrope, Free was once Girl in the Dress, and Breathe In was Breathe In Something. However, there is another source with alternate titles for other songs, including Big Blue Sky, which was likely Big Wheel, Been Around the World, likely Around the World, Life's Free, probably Lemon Yellow, and a mysterious track known as Sleeping. From all of the articles, interviews, and personal conversations, Gisborne seems to be a really cool person, and I do have to say, making this video was fun. It was like researching John Lennon without all the Yoko drama. I will stand by my judgment when I say that this solo album wasn't my favorite, but I must admit it was probably the most well fleshed out of the 5. Skylab and the local division, if he really was the vocalist, showcased his best vocal performances, being the most balanced, and Plastiscene was overall the most enjoyable. The first EP contains my favorite song by him, Now Is One, which also happens to be one of my all-time favorite songs, and the one I currently cannot get myself to stop listening to. Yes, the Beatles may be the greatest songwriters in the world, but those talents didn't always pursue in quality after the group split up. Even when they were together, Let It Be was probably the worst album that the Beatles released. And don't even try to convince me that John Lennon's solo work was better than anything he wrote while he was with the Beatles. My point is, I think I have to say that Roger Gisborne is probably one of, if not the greatest songwriter I have ever heard. Of course I love Christian and the Velvet Starlings, but considering the fact that he co-wrote most of my favorite songs like Sold Down the River and Emerald Isle, I kind of have to give him some credit for those as well. I would never say that he is better than the greats like Lennon or McCartney, and I certainly wouldn't say I like his music more than the Velvet Starlings, but looking at the work he's done over the years in both performance and composition, I have to say that I really admire this guy. And Seeing Stars holds a very special place in my heart. This was one of those albums that I kind of overlooked, but once I finally got it as a physical copy and I started listening to it, I just started to realize how great Gisborne is in songwriting, really. I said it before in my review of Seeing Stars, and I'll say it again. Intentional or not, Gisborne possesses a shrewd talent in using the English language to his advantage. Through simple, seemingly meaningless vocabulary, his lyrics work to paint a grand picture of another world on Seeing Stars. While the music isn't any more special than, say, a Beatles album or a Jimi Hendrix record, because so many songs these days are either meaningless dance anthems or so deeply rooted in philosophical ideas, we forget that sometimes the beauty of music comes from the simplicity of it. Seeing Stars is a timeless masterpiece. It stands as another example that not all songs need to be serious, thought-provoking addresses to be something significant. So in response to the artist's comments about this album, I have to say I really disagree with you. And he doesn't fail to meet the standard of his best performance on his other releases either. He continues with brilliant and ingenious songwriting across all the rest of his albums, including the already discussed Breathe In, Intravenous Star, and the irresistible Stroke of Genius, which I'm going to play a clip of now. Not to mention his taste for acts who write their own material. In another interview, he has stated that he often refuses to sign acts that he doesn't vibe with, and he has often criticized the trend of having 6 uncredited people writing a single song. His son has quoted him advising him to be authentic and to not be a follower. You don't have to lead either, just be true to yourself always. Don't follow trends or run with or trail behind the herd, and don't be afraid to wear your musical influences proudly on your sleeve, especially if they are coming from the best singer-songwriters that ever roamed the earth. Always stay on the same course of what you know is right, end quote. This belief has obviously bled into his music since the beginning, and I respect him for that. For all of these reasons, I would not hesitate to say that Roger Gisborne is my 3rd favorite artist of all time. His lyrics are poetic and artistic combined with the music, and his performance has not decreased in quality since 1997. If sometime by chance he releases an album in the future, I would say his potential to grow an audience would be about 65–70%. So if he's watching and you're considering releasing another album, please do. I will cherish it forever as I do these. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go listen to Roger Gisborne and everything he's done. I'll put the links in the description or in the comments. And until next time, thanks guys for watching and remember to play it loud. I love you. What? Ooh. That's cool! Oh my goodness! Okay. I will cherish it. My cat is calling for me. Okay, I already said that one. I love you.